The more familiar, with no rules on genre, form, or novelty. Learn more about the origins of songs, the lives of the musicians that made them, and a wide array of interesting facts in general. It's freeform radio at its finest. Hear what you rarely hear anywhere else here on Radio Free Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday on KSJE.
The Ark Store in Farmington is open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday for shopping and dropping off donations. Free pickup of usable donations is available if needed. All purchases are tax-free and enjoy free popcorn and coffee while you shop. The Ark Store, located at 200 West Broadway in downtown Farmington, is operated by the Ark of San Juan County, a non-profit organization whose mission is to support the quality of life for people with developmental disabilities and their families.
COVID-19 cases are high and it's overwhelming our healthcare system. The caregivers at San Juan Regional Medical Center need your help.
Our resources are exhausted. We're very limited on what we have the capacity to do because we're being overwhelmed with the number of individuals that are requiring ICU care at this point.
So what can you do to help? Most importantly, ignore the rhetoric and get vaccinated.
Continue hand washing, continue to wear your mask and social distance.
Help us so we can help you.
Fifteen minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Monday morning, February the 7th, 2022. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin, and thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM, of course, over the air here in San Juan County. Everywhere else, you can tune in, of course, on our website, ksje.com. And we also welcome our viewers who are watching this visual radio program. We are streaming out live this morning to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. So we're glad that you are with us this morning, everybody, because coming up in the next few moments, my guest here in Studio A, Bart Wilsey, is here from the Farmington Museum. He is here to tell us all about some of the upcoming exhibits that are coming to the Farmington Museum, and of course some of the exhibits that are already on display at the Farmington Museum. So stay tuned for that. We've got a lot of great photos to show you, and much more coming up in the next few minutes right here on KSJE. And then at 8:50 this morning, we'll be checking in with Lewis Campbell from Synergy Computer Systems, talking technology during our Monday Reboot segment. That's coming up today at 8:50 a.m. on KSJE. Next hour, Mick Hess takes us roving with the arts. It is KSJE's weekday classical music program, and this morning, music from Samuel Barber is being featured on the program. Don't forget, you can also connect with us on our Instagram page in addition to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And if you're a podcast person, you can subscribe for free to KSJE Podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts, places like iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio and Pandora. So check us out, and you can subscribe for free and take us along with you on your travels and activities. Weather forecast, it is 18 degrees outside our studios here at San Juan College this morning. We are expecting a mostly sunny day today with a high of 46 degrees. Clear overnight with a low of 15. Partly sunny tomorrow, but a bit warmer with a high of 51 on Tuesday. 52 on Wednesday, mid-50s for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, with lots of sunshine and a little bit warmer overnight, too, with overnight lows in the mid to lower 20s. Well, let me introduce my guest, who is here with me this morning, as I mentioned, to talk about some of the exhibits that are at the Farmington Museum and exhibits that will be coming to the Farmington Museum. Bart Wilsey is back with me in Studio A. Good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Good to have you back. As I mentioned when you first arrived, I'm hoping this is a sign that maybe things are coming a little bit back towards normal as exhibits are maybe moving around the country and you're able to hopefully schedule and book some things.
We are, and it's nice to kind of have things opening up a little bit, and we're trying to get some more bigger things scheduled. So,
right.
Yes.
Because it was quite a different time for you. I don't think you've ever experienced just an exhibit that kind of had to be left at your facility until things kind of opened up. You were able to hang on to things for a while.
Right. It was basically shuttered for a while. Really,
yeah, that too.
What it was. We're excited about some things that are coming up, and we'll have fun talking about them.
Very good. Well, let's get started and talk a little bit about maybe the exhibit that's there right now. now, right, that is open, which is a big one.
Sure.
The Built by Gas exhibit, right?
It is. This exhibit we just recently opened. It's meant to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the first commercial gas well here in San Juan County. But, it not only talks about that first well, but it really chronicles everything up to the present. We talk about, early exploration of oil and gas, talk about the guy that went to a poker game in Santa Fe and ended up going and bidding on a lease, spent $1,000, and a year later he sold half of his interest in it for $1 million.
That's a pretty good return. I'm not an investment guy, but even I can see that that's a pretty good.
That's not bad, especially for 1924.
Right.
So.
That's a lot for $1 million
Yes.
for sure. And so yeah, we just had that celebration in last year. So it was 1921,
Right.
when the first commercial well was drilled here in San Juan County.
October 21st, 1921 is when it came in, and it was drilled right outside of Aztec as you head south out of Aztec on Main Street. Right when you get over the hill, there'll be a well site on the right-hand side, and that's the location of that well.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Very, very cool.
And I mean, it came in with tremendous force. 10 million cubic yards per day.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was an incredible flow.
And at that time, I guess, was there such a demand for natural gas, or was it more of an oil situation?
Well, it kind of developed. They piped this well into Aztec and started selling it almost right away for a whole $2 a month. You could heat your house.
Nice.
But they ended up putting a pipeline into Durango and Albuquerque both.
Okay.
So that kind of opened the markets. But then a few years later, it did turn into more of an oil market.
Right.
And oil was shipped out on the railroad cars here after that.
Got it. But of course, primarily this is a natural gas basin.
It is.
As I've been told time and time again, which is true.
Absolutely.
And we see that with the prices and things like that, but there is certainly oil here.
There is oil here, and you will learn that in the exhibit too, because we've got a giant map in at the kind of the end part of the exhibit, and it'll show you, which wells are primarily oil, and which ones are gas.
Got it.
You can see.
Right. Very, very cool. And you've been working on this exhibit for a while, right? I mean,
have.
This is something that I know you've wanted to do and devoted a lot of resources, and a lot of different parts of the collection, I think, have been kind of brought in to help tell the story of gas here in the San Juan Basin.
Right, exactly. You've got a slide up of kind of the recreation of a 1940s gas station that we put in the exhibit. And this is usually utilizing all of what we call the Hawkinson, Alan Hawkinson put together over the years here and brought to the museum. But this is one of the kind of the highlights of the exhibit from a historical standpoint.
He had collected these gas pumps and just anything related to, I think, vehicles and maintenance and garages during that era, right?
So-called Petroliana, anything oil and gas or gas station related.
Right.
Yes.
That mobile gas sign is beautiful that we can see there, and the logo, and of course, and all those things. And probably some folks listening or watching us, maybe they may not remember going to a station like this, but maybe their grandparents or great-grandparents might remember going to a station like this.
Absolutely, yep. Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of how the industry developed, right? As certainly, automobiles and gasoline and natural gas and everything else, it just brought another industry with it.
Yep, and for our area, it was really the pipeline to California that went in 1948 that really lit the match to the whole thing,
right?
So to speak.
Not literally, but figuratively. But sure, because that was a huge market.
Well, it was a tremendous market, and Farmington in 1950 was still a sleepy little town of 3,500 people. By 1960, after that pipeline went in, it was over 23,000. So
yeah, and I want folks to just think about those numbers for just a minute, because
Yes.
that's really amazing to me.
it's
And a really important part of the history of our community, of just how fast it grew.
Right.
And it was driven by this one industry.
one industry, and we talk about that in the exhibit. We kind of we show people some of the subdivisions that went up and different things like that, you can't really talk about oil and gas or Farmington without talking about the other.
Right.
Because they were so intertwined.
Sure. Well, and I still see stories from folks on Facebook or wherever talking about maybe moving here during that time, or their parents or grandparents moved here during that time, and that kids couldn't go to school for the full day because the schools didn't have enough room for all the kids that were now in town. So maybe some kids went in the morning, and then the other half of kids went in the afternoon. They were renting like garden sheds for a place to sleep. Because there wasn't enough housing for all the people that were here. I mean, these are the types of stories that we hear during those early years before the construction kind of caught up towards the end of that decade.
You've heard my spiel before, I take
No,
it.
well, I think I have. I hope I have, for sure. But
yes, we talk about kids going half-day schools, the fact that they built 7 new schools within 10 years. I mean, that says a lot right there, because they just couldn't keep up with all the students that were coming in. So
amazing. This other photo that I wanted to share that you sent me, this is a pipeline going in, right?
Pipeline going in, and a lot of people don't really realize what goes into the natural gas industry, but you need pipelines to be able to get gas from one place to another, and there's just a whole network of them out there that people don't realize. But we show this one going in, but we also have a model within the exhibit that shows all of the processes from surveying to covering up the pipe that they do in the whole process.
Right.
So it's an educational exhibit for sure.
Right. Well, and I would say for anyone maybe who has kids, whose maybe parents work in the energy industry, and the kids aren't quite sure what mom or dad does when they go off to work, this would be a great exhibit to kind of maybe show kind of what parts of the industry that they're involved in, but the bigger picture as well, right, of how it all comes together.
Exactly. It gives a great overview of all of that, plus a lot of Farmington history kind of interwoven into it. So, it's really fabulous.
Right. Here's another picture that from the opening of the exhibit, right? This was just, just a few weeks ago, a few months ago?
That was a little bit more than that.
Okay. I didn't
Couple
make
of months.
it, so I'm embarrassed that I didn't make it to the opening, but it's a great exhibit.
It is a great exhibit, and the for folks that aren't seeing this is a kind of a giant map on the floor that kind of shows all of the wells within the county, or within the basin, really. And there's 56,000 wells. There's 26,000 of them that are currently active. That's a whole lot of wells.
Right.
So this is a visual that really makes an impact on people when they go through the exhibit, to really understand the enormity of what this industry is here.
Right. Well, and why the geology of the basin is so unique, I guess, too, to be able to support all these wells and to be a producing basin for 100 years.
Yes.
Which is another amazing thing. So here's another shot of the exhibit, and again, talking a bit about the different booms of the natural gas. Right, we talk about that first one, and then but then of course the nature of the business is the ups and downs of the energy business.
There were some busts in there, yes, indeed, especially in kind of the early 80s, 1983, for sure. Was one of the busts, and people tell me that there were literally almost blocks of houses for sale at that time. The market got so bad that the energy crash, but again, it clawed its way back out. stuck with it and built it back up until probably 2000, 2001. It peaked. And that was kind of the peak of the natural gas industry here, and it's kind of been slowly subsiding since, but it's still here.
Right. Well, and prices are going back up
Prices
these
are
days.
better now.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't know if that means I don't hear any talk about another boom. I think people are a bit more cautious, perhaps. Maybe they didn't want to use that term, and I understand why.
Yeah, I think they are too. I think it's a kind of a leveling out period, so to speak.
Right.
But
still a big part of the community and a big part of the economy. I think folks need to remember that.
It's still a huge part, and if the price shifts, from $1.50 to $4 to $6, yeah, that's a huge difference.
Right.
So
very, very much so. So exciting. And just a couple more photos here from this exhibit before we move on to our next topic. But these are some other things that are on display, and so this takes up a big part of your gallery, doesn't it?
It takes up about half of the original gallery that we have at the museum.
Gotcha.
The Dallas Gallery.
The Cassie Dallas Gallery.
Yes.
That's right. That's very true. Very true. But
So
there you are. Good. And another exhibit that is already on display is this one called Seldom Seen.
it is.
And so look, before I move on, how much longer will the gas exhibit be up? It's going to be up for a while, won't it?
Well, the gas exhibit is going to be up for a while, and really what it's meant to do is we wanted to do an exhibit on the oil and gas industry, kind of interwoven with Farmington history, but it will be up until we decide to expand it even further.
Got it.
So we are working on some plans for that.
Got it.
So it's going to be there for a while until we
And you'll be adding to it, it sounds
we'll
like
be
that.
adding to it. Yes.
Got it. Very
absolutely.
good. Then let's talk about this one called Seldom Seen.
Seldom Seen, exactly. For many, many years, we have collected art from our national juried art shows, our regional juried art shows when we did them. You know, people donate pieces of art to us, and we had amassed a pretty good collection of art. And during the pandemic, it was kind of a time to be a little bit more retrospective.
Yeah.
And so we decided to showcase that collection of art and pulled a whole bunch of it out.
Nice.
And put it on exhibit.
Very good.
So
And
these are pieces from all over the country, but we also have a great contingent of regional and local artists within it, kind of names like Rod Hubble, Dwight Long,
We know those names.
James Joe.
Yes.
So there's a bunch of people in here that we're definitely proud of, and
Nice.
it's a very eclectic collection. You know, we didn't do any kind of theme or anything, but
well, I guess the theme would be whatever struck your eye
Whatever
and was purchased for the collection or accepted into the collection.
whatever struck our fancy is really what it was.
So,
yes.
and here's another example. So, and there's all kinds of different pieces, right?
There
Sculpture,
is sculpture,
and
paintings,
and
you know,
items.
contemporary stuff. There's some stone in the background there.
Yeah, sculpture.
Sculpture. So yeah, it's got a little bit of everything for people.
As we can see. And this one will be up for a little while. What's our...
This one will be up, yes, until we bring in another one of our larger traveling exhibits that we're going to be talking about, which is the Wildcrats exhibit. That will go into that new gallery where Seldom Seen is.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Here's some other items, right? This is some fabric, a purse.
So this is
What am I looking at?
the other exhibit that we have on display right now, which is called All Dressed Up.
Ah, yes.
And again, like
The third exhibit that's
the third
currently
exhibit
there.
that's
right.
currently
Thank you.
up, but it was kind of an opportunity to be retrospective and introspective. And so we decided to, we have a fabulous collection of women's hats. Lola Furman, the late Lola Furman, her daughter donated this collection to us, and it was something like 260 women's hats. Yes,
Right.
a fabulous collection. So this exhibit is really centered around that collection and what it had to offer. But it's really a fabulous bunch of items, and we not only brought out hats, but we brought out garments, accessories, shoes, purses, different things like that. But it really is about the hats when you boil it down to it.
Right. Which were definitely a big fashion accessory back up to a certain point, and then they kind of went out of style.
Up to a certain point, and then they went out of style. But we have hats from the turn of the century on up into the 40s and 50s when they were still very popular, and some of them are just works of art.
Right.
Really. So.
Well, and the fact that they've been saved and not
Right.
thrown away
Right.
or changed into something else and preserved.
Right.
And then you're able to bring them out and show it to us.
Bring them out and show them and talk about fashion and
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
Farmington fashion.
There you go, all dressed up. And so that is again on display. Will that be replaced by another traveling exhibit coming in?
This one is actually in the Cassie Dallas Gallery, and we are going to be taking this one out and start and producing another exhibit into that space from our collection.
Okay.
And that's going to be, we're going to bring back an oldie but goodie. We did an exhibit on Will Evans and his
yes.
painting
Okay.
back in the early 2000s, and so we are going to bring his stuff back into the Dallas Gallery.
In this space. And so how much longer do we have to see All Dressed Up?
So All Dressed Up is going to be coming out in May, and we are going to be opening Will Evans in June.
Okay.
So
Very
but
good.
Some of those are just incredible.
A few more hats.
The feathers on them and the
Yes.
colors that they have are just fantastic.
Right. Very. And this looks to me, what era would you say from these hats, Bart Wilsey? Are they around the 60s? 70s?
I would go a little bit earlier on
Would you?
those. Yeah.
Okay.
There's one, you can read it. I think it's 1950.
Oh yeah. If I looked at the other monitor, I would see the dates.
Yeah.
One is the one on the left is 1950. The one in the middle is 1959.
There you go.
And
can't
the
read
date
the
is
other one.
unknown on
Yeah.
the other one, but that's a Lola Furman head on the right.
Yeah.
Constance Riggi is another donor.
Yep.
And then John and Robbie Parker is the other donor there for the hat on the left.
Yep.
So there you
pretty,
go.
Pretty
But,
fabulous
yeah,
stuff.
Exactly.
Wow.
More feathers.
And even birds.
And birds,
Yes.
yeah. And there's one more picture, I think. And and that will bring us to Will Evans, because I wanted to ask you about that. When she mentioned it's coming in June.
Right.
And
right.
And so for folks who aren't familiar with Will Evans, there are examples. You have a lot of examples of his work, which was part of this exhibit. But I know the Tota Theater, that we all is
Yep.
beloved and preserved in downtown Farmington, also has some examples of Will Evans' art.
It does. Yep. Has some paintings on the interior down there that
I think the county and the city's been put on notice to preserve that
we need to preserve
at all
those.
costs,
Absolutely.
and I think they're very
Yes.
conscious of that effort,
Yes.
which is great.
Yes, yes.
But talk to me about Will Evans.
So Will Evans, he was a trader. He owned Shiprock Trading Post. But he kind of was exposed in kind of the 20s to Navajo culture, and then once he bought Shiprock Trading Post, he developed. He's very involved in the Navajo community, and he loved learning about their ceremonies and culture, and was just really fascinated by them. And he even developed the. If you can see it on the monitor, it's what we call a Shiprock Yay rug.
Right.
It's a particular style of those types of weavings, but he saw his first sand painting ceremony in the 1930s, and he just became fascinated with the imagery that he saw in those, and decided to kind of paint items in that kind of same style.
Okay.
He didn't borrow things verbatim, but he definitely borrowed from their imagery and painted all kinds of things. Like you say, interior of the Tota Theater has paintings. He painted the outside of his Shiprock trading post. He painted images on other trading posts, but he also painted furniture. Bottles, lamps,
you name it almost.
You name it. Sucrette tins. He painted designs on the turtle shells that his kids brought home, or his grandkids or kids brought home from the store.
Right.
So he really painted everything he could get his hands on.
Got it. And very interesting. And so you are, and so the museum has purchased some of these items, right, because of its importance to the area.
Significance here. During our first exhibit in 2001, 2002, when that was over, we purchased a significant portion to be able to, do an exhibit again.
Yeah.
And do it justice. So we purchased a large amount of that. Now, I know the other part of the collection went around the country and was held together for a while, but it finally went to auction, and now it's scattered all over the country. So, but there's much more interest online. There's a couple of different groups that I belong to on Facebook, and there's been some postings about Will Evans and his work lately. So there's becoming much more interest in it.
Interesting.
And
so you are going to be bringing your collection out to display, right?
Bringing
again,
our collection out and showing that.
Nice.
And
beginning in June.
Yeah, we're going to open that June 18th.
Got it. And that'll be up for a while?
That'll be up for a while because we're going to be talking about a bigger traveling exhibit that we're going to be doing, but this will be on exhibit kind of at the same time. So a little bit of something for everyone.
That'll be great. And there's another couple other pictures here. And this looks like maybe it's the exterior, I guess, right?
Yes.
Of one of the buildings.
Yep, that's the Shiprock trading post that he owned.
Gotcha.
But this is a little booklet that we put together during the first exhibit, and we actually have that for sale in our gift shop. So people, when they want to learn about Will Evans and what he did and what he painted, we have that for sale when we open the exhibit.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Very, very good. And as you said, all kinds of things. Nothing escaped his paintbrush, I would probably say.
No, except maybe Grandma.
Maybe Grandma. Well, that could be, but lampshades and lamps, and you can see it there.
You can see he painted a deer hide, which we actually have in our collection now. So yeah, it's really some fantastic stuff.
Very good. And you mentioned that this collection was kind of together for a bit, but then has gone to auction. Was that something that, as a museum director and former curator, does that kind of rustle your feathers a little bit to see it split up like that?
Well,
do you wish it could be held together?
Well, it does. You hate to see things scattered to the winds. Museums are famous because collectors collect things, but museums collect collectors.
Right.
So
good point.
Once they amass that collection, we love to see it stay together.
Right.
And that's one thing that I loved about the Hawkinson collection is Alan came to us and said, I would like to keep this collection here in San Juan County, and we were able to take the whole collection and be able to do that, and that was just fantastic. But in this case, it just wasn't practical for us to purchase the whole collection at that time.
Sure.
We'll always take a donation of a Will Evans lamp or something else, but we purchased enough of it to really do a great exhibit. So we're excited about doing that.
And that is exciting that you were able to do that. And of course,
yes.
I'm sure the prices have gone up since that time, and so to try to do that again would be maybe cost prohibitive.
Well, it would be, and it's just not practical for us to be able to do that.
Right.
So.
But we're excited that what you have, you're going to be showing us in
We're
June.
excited because we just purchased a really great sampling of different items, from the deer hide to the panels to the lamps to the bottles. We even have some of the things that you wouldn't find out there, which were some of the templates
Oh, wow.
that Will Evans used. So
to create these things.
yeah, there'll be some things in there that you won't see anyplace else.
Gotcha. And is it possible in the future, perhaps this collection that you have might be packaged up and offered as a traveling exhibit to other museums to share it around the country?
That is always a possibility, Scott. We did that with some Navajo weavings when we first opened the museum. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility, and especially if we see more interest out there about that.
Of course.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
That would be exciting. Bart Wilsey is my guest this morning, everyone. We are just about out of time, but I want to talk about the two other traveling exhibits that are coming.
Absolutely.
And your summer music series that is coming as well. We're excited to hear that's planning again, so that's very exciting. Talk to me a little bit about these traveling exhibits, the one that's coming up, and let me forward my screen here to this one.
We have two exciting traveling exhibits that are coming in.
Okay.
Both of them are titled Wildcrats. If you watch PBS or PBS Kids, I've got kids, I've watched about all of these.
So you know.
Yes, I know. The Krat brothers go on adventures, and the two exhibits that we're going to be featuring is Creature Power and Ocean Adventure. And we're going to be bringing those two exhibits in at the same time into our new gallery.
Nice. And that'll be what time? When will they be arriving?
That is going to be opening in September.
Okay.
So kind of stay tuned for that.
And what can you tell us about these exhibits?
This is going to fill most of our new big hall. So two exhibits at the same time. These are definitely focused on elementary-aged kids. They are the Krat brothers go around having adventures, and they take on powers of different animals.
Okay.
So they kind of highlight how animals adapt, what they use to adapt, and I'll give you for instance. For instance, a porcupine having quills is what they call a creature power, because it's used to defend itself, and able to use those quills to keep predators away.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
So some things like that, and it's going to be interesting because we not only have creature power, but we have Ocean Adventure, which highlights a lot of things in the ocean that people wouldn't have been exposed to here.
Well, we don't have a lot of ocean here, do we? So that's a great addition, right, to be able to... because it's so different from what we're used to here in the desert.
Exactly.
And that's the idea. But
and these are fun, bright, colorful exhibits that will have a lot of activities for kids built into them. So it's really just going to be some fantastic exhibits for this community.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And that's September.
September.
And it'll be here for a while.
It'll be here for a while, yes.
Good. Good to know. Well, lots of stuff happening. We're glad, like I said, we're glad to see it. That's one more sign that maybe things are getting a little bit closer to normal. So exciting to see some of these things coming to Farmington.
Absolutely. And, we're excited because we're kind of starting some more programming up. And one that you mentioned is our Summer Terrace series, which is music concerts back behind the museum.
And you were telling me you've already got some folks booked.
We do have some folks booked already. Last year we did a very limited concert series, but this year we're going from June all the way through August. So that'll be nice.
And I must tell people, if you have not enjoyed a concert on the back lawn of the Farmington Museum along the river during the summer, you are missing out.
You are missing out because it is beautiful back there.
It is one of the special events of the summer. So I'm glad it's going to be back for a longer time this year. That's wonderful. Bart, thanks for coming in. Thank you for all the work that you do and for bringing all these great things to Farmington and telling telling our story. I think it's really important, so thanks.
Thank you, Scott.
And another shout out to the city, I always want to shout out to the city because admission to the museum is always free. Some of these traveling exhibits might involve a little bit of an admission charge,
Right.
but the city, I think, has tried very hard, harder in some years, maybe more than others, to keep admission free to the museum, and that's to their credit.
Exactly.
So shout out to the city council and the mayor and the city manager for that. So thanks for coming in, Bart. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Take care. That's Bart Wilsey from the Farmington Museum, my guest this morning here on KSJE. KSJE and San Juan College present the Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week.
Hello, this is Chi, bringing you week 4 of Coaching Tips of the Week. This week is resources. There are many resources available on our college campus, both physically and online. Be sure to know these valuable resources if you are unsure of their availability. Do an online search using your college website. If you cannot find the resources on your own, be sure to contact the Student Achievement Center in room 1604. Resources can be found in the following areas: Library Services, Native American Center, Herencia and Latina Center, the Student Achievement Center, the Career Center, Trio Center / Edge, Tutoring Center, the Veteran Center, Financial Aid Office, Advising, the Counseling Center, Disability Services, Business Office, and the Dean of Students, and more.
The Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week, presented by KSJE and the Student Achievement Center at San Juan College. KSJE is supported by the Farmington Civic Center, bringing a full slate of entertainment to Farmington and San Juan County. Dancing with the Farmington Stars, Saturday, February 19th at 7 p.m. The Farmington Civic Center, 200 West Arrington in downtown Farmington. Find out more online at fmtn.org/shows or 505-599-1148.
Hi, I'm Megan, host of Radio Free Saturday Morning, the eclectic music mix beacon of the Four Corners and worldwide. Tune in to discover new music and to revel in the more familiar with no rules on genre, form, or novelty. Learn more about the origins of songs, the lives of the musicians that made them, and a wide array of interesting facts in general. It's freeform radio at its finest. Hear what you rarely hear anywhere else here on Radio Free Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to